guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to teach you how to draft armhole princess bustier. So I'm going to write out my measurements. My bust 38, waist 31, shoulder to bust point is 10.5 inches. The under bust is 15 inches. Half length is 16.5. Then I have added 1.5 inches. Added half an inch, sorry. Then my shoulder measurement is 16. So the next thing is I'm going to input all these measurements on my paper, my pattern paper. Starting with, I measured half an inch at the upper part of my pattern paper just for my starting point, so I'll be guided. So this line at the top does not mean anything. Then I measured my shoulder to bust, which is 10.5, my under bust, which is 15 inches, my half length, which is 16.5, and half inches for my allowance, sewing allowance. Then I'm just going to rule out my lines, the vertical lines. I'll rule out my shoulder to bust, my under bust. I'll rule out my under bust as well. Then I'm going to do the same thing for my half length and my allowance, sewing allowance. Then I'm just going to extend my lines, extend them well. So after doing this, I'll go to the upper part of my pattern paper, and then I'm going to measure out my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2, that's 8 inches. Then I will measure my armhole depth, which is 8 inches. This 8 inches line is going to serve as my chest line. Chest line is usually 2 inches above the shoulder to bust point, so I'm going to have 8 inches here. My shoulder to bust point is 10.5. So I'm just going to extend the line where I have my shoulder. That's my chest line. Then I'm going to measure my bust span. I forgot to say this. My bust span is 9 inches, so divided by 2, that's 4.5. I'm going to measure 4.5 on my shoulder to bust point. Then I'll go to my under bust as well, just measure 4.5. Then I'm just going to label this so that you won't be confused when you're doing your own. I'll extend the line as much as possible. Then I have my chest line, my bust line, that's my shoulder to bust point, then my other bust, and my half length, and the sewing allowance. After doing that, I'm just going to rule a line for my bust, my dart. Then I'll extend the dart leg down to my half length. I'll confirm my measurements. At this under bust, I measured 4 inches because I want a firmer under bust. I don't want something that will be too wide and it won't be able to it won't be smart enough for me. So I'll go to my shoulder, my armhole length. Then I'm going to measure half of my armhole length, which is 4 inches. You can use 3.5 for a smaller bust. For me, I love to have 4 inches there, so I'm just going to come to my under bust as well. I'm going to measure 1.5 inches. Now extend the line to my bust point, that's my shoulder to bust point. Extend my line, then I'll go to my armpit area and measured 1.5 as well. And I'll extend the line, I'll connect it and give it a curvy shape. I'll blend it a bit so that it won't be too sharp. After doing that, I'm going to measure my neck width and my neck depth. For this, I'm using 4 inches for my neck width, and I'm using 4 inches as well for my neck depth. And I'm just going to connect them. I'll blend. Sorry, I just have to readjust this. Good. After this, I'm going to measure out my measurements. Okay, I had to do the armhole curve because I didn't really remember to make the curve, so I'm just going to make my armhole curve. Then I'm going to adjust that. After doing that, then I'll measure out my measurements, my bust measurements plus my allowance. Make sure you had your allowance and don't make it too much so that your work will be neat when you're transferring to your glue. Then I'll measure my waist as well. The 2 inches I removed from my under bust, I'm going to return it when I'm taking my measurements. And I'm just going to extend the lines. Be sure to confirm your measurements before you cut, so that you won't run shortage of fabrics when you're sewing. Ensure you do this always whenever you are cutting, to be on the safer side. So you can always trim when it is much, but when it is too short, I don't think there's any remedy. So after doing that, I'm going to just cut out my pattern. Just going to cut out everything that I've done. And for the bust, for the back area, after cutting this out, you can just decide to place it on another pattern paper and trace out your neckline, your armhole, and then you are going to measure your dart. For the dart, you can measure your shoulder to underbust, then you are going to measure 4 inches for your dart at the back, for the back piece I mean. And there you go. I feel like this front part is the one that has most of the work, so for the back is not really big deal, because I'm sure that you place the pattern, you place out your armhole, your neckline, and your dart. So I'm just going to cut out the same way. Careful when you are cutting so that you won't cut out the pattern wrongly. Nice job. You are going to trace out your neck. Be very careful when you are doing this. You won't cut out more than what you mark. Readjust it. So So the back piece will not give you a problem. You're just going to place it, measure at the same measurement. Then you're going to input your dart and your zip allowance. Then you trace out your armhole width, your neck width, and your neck depth. You can increase the neck depth, but for the neck width, so that the two shoulder will be able to balance well, you can use the same thing you use for the front. But for the neck depth, sorry, you can increase it to 5 to 6 to 7, depending on how wide you want it to be, how deep you want it to be. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to cut your fabric on fold. Thank you.